Good afternoon. I'm a little bit late. I'm ever so sorry. It seems to have been parcel central here today and I just had to run and answer the doorbell again. There isn't anybody else who can answer the door at the moment, so it's down to me. And I have a horrible feeling there's probably going to be another parcel arriving. Hopefully not while I'm live, but if there is, I might have to dash off for 2 minutes. I'm so sorry to be late. Sandy, I hope you hung in there. I know you were there waiting on time, and I wasn't here. So first question is, can you see me okay? And more importantly, perhaps at the moment, can you hear me okay? We've had all sorts of issues with sound over the last couple of weeks, so I'm hoping it's all okay. So could you please let me know, just type in a comment. I'm going to go and grab my iPad and see if you can see me okay, or at least if it looks like you can see me okay. Right. Let's have a quick look. And it looks like I should be live. So it looks like Sandy's still here, which is good news. So just let me know if you can see and hear okay. Just trying to sort out the huge variety of leads that I seem to have hanging across my desk. Okay, so I'm just going to wait and see if I get a message that you can hear okay, and then I know that, fingers crossed, we've sorted out the gremlins. Rosie can see me. Well, that's good. Can you hear me, Rosie? Still waiting. Sandy is struggling to get sound. That's not good. So the issue seems to be that for some reason Facebook Live didn't like my microphone. So I'm not using the microphone, which is what I did the last 2 times to sort it out. I've come a little bit closer to my phone. Is that any better? Let me know if that's any better. And I'll... Rosie meant to say that too. Okay, so hopefully Rosie's sound is okay. Sandy is struggling to get sound. Thank you, Rosie. Rosie says it's good to see and hear me. Well, I can't see or hear you, but it's good to read your comments, Rosie, so thank you so much. If I seem a bit faint, I don't wish for a minute to state the obvious, but just make sure that the volume on your device is turned right up. I know sometimes I turn something down because I'll be watching, say, a YouTube video, which for some reason is very loud, and then I can't hear anything the next time. So, okay, I'm hoping that Sandy will be able to hear me okay. I've sat a little bit closer. Rosie says smelling salts. Okay. I can't remember what I said, Rosie, that's prompted smelling salts. I hope you're not feeling faint anyway. We don't want that. Gosh, smelling salts, that's something you don't see very much, isn't it? My grandma always used to have smelling salts in her bag. And I actually only saw her use them once. Yes, I had flu and I was feeling faint and she whipped out her smelling salts. I have to say they were the most revolting things I've ever smelt in my life, but there you go. Okay, so I'm reading the comments and they are meaning nothing to me. Okay, Mary I think has had autocorrect. She's got high erroneous, so I don't know what you were trying to say, Mary, but I'm sure you weren't trying to say that. Oh, Rosie, yeah, I've got you. Sorry. Yeah, you were miles ahead of me with that joke, and it's a good one. So thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to carry on because if Rosie can hear me, then presumably it should be okay for everybody else. But if you do have any problems, please let me know. So a few bits of chat and reminders and things. So I don't know how your week has been. Let me know what you've been doing. I have to say my week's been completely manic. We've had some family stuff going on which is still not sorted out. You know how these things are. You never get one thing that goes wrong at once. It's always a whole pile of things. But anyway, enough of that. But that's taken up quite a lot of my time this week. And then apart from that, I've been preparing for an event this evening, which is great. I'm really looking forward to meeting a lot of you this evening, so if you're coming to that, I'm very pleased. The weather forecast says that it's going to stay dry now until about 9 o'clock, and you will all be saying goodbye to me before 9 o'clock, so fingers crossed that they're right, because certainly the weather this morning here in the New Forest has been absolutely appalling. We've had rain beating down on us, although the sun is out now and it's beautiful. So Mary said, great, she can hear. Fantastic. Thank you, Mary. And she says hello to everyone. And Pam is here and she says hello to everybody too. So that's really nice to have you. So yes, and I've got an all-day Christmas class coming up. It's not till the 20th of November, but if you've ever been to one of my classes, you probably will know that there are lots of bits of cards that magically have to turn into the right size and get packed into some kind of order for the different projects before you arrive. So that's where I come in. And I actually really enjoy doing it, but it takes quite a lot of time. So I've been busy with that. I've got a card class next week. I've got a fancy fold cards class coming up in a couple of weeks as well. So it's been busy here, and I'm quite looking forward to the weekend. I've got a list of chores, but I might just put my feet up with a cup of tea and a book. I don't know. That's what I feel like doing, I must admit. Kay is here. She says, afternoon, and thank you for her paper share. So that will be your Blackberry Beauty one, I think, Kay. I'm glad it arrived and I'm glad you like it. It is a beautiful suite, that one. Really, really lovely. Well, if you saw my Facebook post yesterday, you'll see that I have just celebrated 10 years with Stampin' Up. So thank you very much to all of you who put such really lovely good wishes there. I was extremely touched yesterday. I read every single one out to my husband over dinner last night. And yeah, it was just lovely. I did a draw of comments, and you may have seen that I posted earlier today that Lorraine Firth was the lucky winner. So I've got a Stampin' Up, exclusive Stampin' Up bag all packaged up ready for her. I didn't use a random number generator and all the rest of it. I decided it was just too much hassle. I just went through all the comments, wrote everybody's name on a scrap of paper and drew one out of the tin. And Lorraine was the lucky person who came out. Yes, I'm not the queen of technology. That, I'm sure, didn't take me any longer than it would have done to try to do it electronically. So congratulations to Lorraine for that, and here I am on day one of my 11th year with Stampin' Up, which seems quite amazing. So thank you to all of you for your support. Some of you have been with me right from the beginning, others of you have joined me along the way, and you're all so welcome. I absolutely love what I do. I'm so lucky to be able to play with ink and paper and stamps all day long. Actually really love doing it and share so much of it with you. Okay, so Pam's saying hi to Rosie, Rosie's saying hi to Pam. I think it came in the opposite order, but not to worry. Sandy's saying hello to everyone, and Rosie's saying that's amazing. I'm assuming you mean 10 years, Rosie. It is amazing. Yeah, I can still remember how long it took me to decide to join and how many questions I asked before I signed on the dotted line. So if you have thought about joining Stampin' Up at all, I can tell you it's great. I have made so many new friends. I've improved my crafting technique no end. I've been to some absolutely fantastic events. I love to see the new things before everybody can get hold of them. I love to get them in my hands before everybody else can get hold of them. And I love to be able to share something I really enjoy with so many people. So whether you just like to continue with your hobby but with some more people that also understand why you're addicted, or whether you might be thinking about possibly trying to make a bit of money from it, I can help you with either of those. Let me know. You'd be so welcome to join my team. You can find more out on my website. I've got that written down. When I bring the camera down, you'll be able to see it, or just drop me a message or an email. Okay, what else do I need to tell you? Today is the last day to order the painted Christmas sweet sampler, and that way I can make sure I order everything and then get it out to you so you've got time to use it to make your Christmas cards. There won't be a sweet sampler in November for December delivery, but I will be, once I've seen the new catalogue, putting one together after that, hopefully for ordering in December for January delivery, but I'll just have to look at dates and see if I'm going to get things in time and all the rest of it. Sometimes it's better to simplify December, isn't it, because we all get so busy with things. So I will have a little look and think about that, and I'll certainly make sure that I let you know. Kay says congratulations. Thank you so much, Kay. Rosie said it would have been 10 years for her next year if she hadn't seen the light and joined me, and she's never regretted it. Well, that's lovely to hear, Rosie. Thank you. For those of you that don't know, Rosie has been a demonstrator, as she says, would have been for 10 years next year. She left Stampin' Up briefly because she wanted to change her team leader, and the way to do that, unless your team leader has left, in which case you can do a little bit of kind of rejigging in the team, but is to leave and then to rejoin with somebody else as your mentor. And Rosie, I'm delighted to say, joined my team, and it's been lovely. Okay, what else do I need to tell you? Oh, the Hope Box. There is a new all-inclusive kit which is designed to make encouraging cards, and then to also make a box full of happy memories and positive thoughts. And of course you could use the decorated box for anything. And when I turn the camera down, I will show you some pictures of that, but that's just available now. It's a lovely kit. It would make a beautiful gift. It's an all-inclusive one, so that means it includes your stamps and your ink pad. All you need are a pair of scissors and a clear block size D to fit the stamps. So I'll show you some pictures of that in a minute. Class is coming up. Oh, excuse me. If you would like to do the December card class, and at that class we'll be doing 5 Christmas cards and a thank you card. So whether you'd like to do that in person or by post, Friday next week, which is November the 5th, is the last day to book. So if you want to book that class, please let me know. The December Fancy Fold Cards class is bookable by the week after that, which is the 12th of November. And that class will be my last one of the year. So there we go. And I've just written myself a reminder, order early for Christmas. I've been saying for a little while now, shop early for Christmas. If you're crafting for Christmas, then you obviously need time to make the stuff, and that means that you need to have the products you need to make your projects. So make sure that you order things early enough. My last 2 parcels have arrived with me in 5 days, which is brilliant. But one of the ones before that took 3 weeks. So it's very, very variable with shipping at the moment. There are huge customs delays and there are huge delivery delays, but you never know when they're going to happen. So please don't leave it to chance. I haven't seen a last order date for Christmas delivery yet from Stampin' Up. But to be honest, I would probably not be recommending that you leave it up until the wire anyway. It's much better to order sooner and get your stuff in plenty of time and not sit there worrying that you haven't got that patterned paper that you were desperate for. So shop early for Christmas. While I remember, if you can like or love this and share it, that would be fantastic. It doesn't matter whether you do it now or whether you do it at the end, but it really helps me if you can do that. The Facebook algorithm likes things where you comment, and it likes things where you like it or you love it, and it really likes things where you share it, and that therefore helps me get seen by other people, which is super helpful. So thank you in advance for doing that. And because I often forget at the end, next time, next week, next Friday at 2 o'clock, I'm going to be doing a one sheet wonder. I'll be making Christmas cards and using the poinsettia, what's it called? I've got it over here. Poinsettia petals stamps and the poinsettia dies, but you can use any stamps at all. It doesn't have to be Christmas, but I will be doing Christmas. So that's going to be next week, a one sheet wonder, which if you didn't know is a big piece of card that you decorate and then you cut up. So you do one lot of decorating and it cuts up to make several projects. So that's what I will be doing next week. And just a little bit of advance warning, on November the 12th, which is 2 Fridays ahead today. 2 Fridays ahead today, what does that mean? 2 weeks today, that makes more sense. 2 weeks today. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be here live, and there also will not be a pre-recorded video, simply because I know I'm not going to have enough time between now and then to pre-record an hour's video and upload it, because as I said earlier, I've got a lot of events coming up, including one of my biggest ones of the year. So I'm really sorry about that. I will remind you about that next week, but do join me next week nonetheless. Let me just check the comments before I move the camera. Belinda's here. She says she's sorry she's late. She's trying to multitask and failing. I know that feeling, Belinda. Don't worry. Okay, so I'm going to cover you over and I'm going to put the camera down, and the first thing I'll do is show you the Hope Box kit pictures. I haven't got the kit yet, although I have got one that I'm going to order, and then I'm going to get on with some crafting. So bear with me just for a moment. Now let's see if we can get this right. Wouldn't that be nice if it worked first time? I always have to look at this. I've got two options for mirror imaging. I think I've picked the right one. Now I just need to alter the camera angle and hope that it's going to cooperate. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't really want to. So I'm going to give this a go, and I may have to fiddle around with things when I can see what you can see. I can see that's not straight for a start. Right, let's try that and see where we are. Okay, so see if I can alter that angle a little bit. See if that's better. I might just have to wedge something. Yeah, that's going to be better, isn't it? Right, bear with me. I'm just going to grab a block. Or even a couple of blocks, and just tilt this a little bit. How's that? Right, that's a little bit better. Okay. Right, I'm still fiddling. Oh, Sandy says perfect, brilliant. Perhaps I need to stop fiddling then. Okay, and I can see from my little address thing that everything's around the right way. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm just going to move a power cord. Lovely. Right, let's work with that and see how we do. So this is the Hope box. Now I've just printed off these photos from the website. I don't know why, but they haven't given us a flyer or anything official for this. So I'm going to move this up slowly and hope that it can focus. So mine is just frozen. Let's hope that's not a bad sign. Oh, there we go again. Okay. So I need to put something firm under this. There we are. That might be better. So this photo here is some of the made up project. So you can make 9 cards. And also there are items included for you to decorate the box with. So there are butterflies on there, there are all kinds of beautiful patterns, there are flowers, and you can see that the colours are just gorgeous. I know there's Blackberry Bliss ink in there, so it looks like a Blackberry Bliss ribbon. There's Blackberry Bliss here. You've got turquoises and oranges. It looks really, really lovely. So it makes 3 designs with 3 cards of each. And then this next photo is the separate components. And I'll show you the stamp set a little bit bigger in a minute. This is not the easiest thing to show you, but I'm hoping that you can get a feel for it. Let's try. So you've obviously got some die cut pieces, you've got card bases, you've got these little butterfly die cuts, ribbon, you've got some sentiments, you've got some embellishments, you've got mini glue dots and dimensionals. And then finally, let me put, I might leave the stamp set image on the desk. That might be more easy for you to see. Probably is. So you've got a couple of butterflies, you've got a nice little cluster of flowers, a ink spatter stamp, always useful, and then it's all about hope and optimism, because we've been through a pretty bad time, haven't we, over the last couple of years. So that's what the words are reflecting. So we've got a big hope here, we've got where there is faith, miracles happen, and then we've got those separately, where there is and there is faith. So you can obviously say where there is hope, or you can say you know, add them together is what I'm trying to say. Then we've got here always hope, because you never know what tomorrow will bring, and that is indeed true, isn't it? Often things are not as bad as we fear. And then a little thing here, just a note of hope. So this is a photopolymer stamp set. It's included in the kit. You get a mini Blackberry Bliss ink pad, and you get all the components to make 9 cards, and then decorate a box where you can put in all your happy memories. Now this will make a beautiful gift. It's £20, which I think is pretty good when you consider you'll be left with the ink pad and the stamps at the end of it. I'll give you the item code, but you can always ask me for it, or you can find it in my online shop. So the item code is 158541, and all you need to add is a clear block for your stamps. Block D will fit them, and a pair of scissors. So there we go. That's that one. Put that there in case you want it to contact me. I'm going to drink a little bit of my tea and then get to the crafting. So Rosie said hello to Belinda. Could do with moving this actually a bit more to the right, couldn't I? Let's see if I can do that. I don't want to mess with something that's working, but I might as well use this empty bit of space to the left. Okay, maybe that's better. I can move it even a little bit more, I think. There we go. Gillian's here and she says hello to everyone. Hi Gillian, thank you for joining us. Right, now I'm going to do you a little sketch to start with, because my theme for today's crafting is one layout, many cards. I think that's how I worded it. And I often get asked where I get my inspiration from, and do I ever get stuck and don't know what to make? And the truth is that yes, of course I get stuck and don't know what to make. Often when I've got a deadline coming up, which is the worst time to not know what to do. And when that happens, I go to my little sketchbook, and I've shown you that before. It's got some very poor quality drawings in it, which are just sketches of layouts, just shapes and how they're arranged. And quite often, if I pull out a favourite stamp set and look through my sketches, into my head will pop an idea of where those images will fit. And then I've got a starting point. So this is a bit more of a layout for stamping rather than shapes of pieces of card or paper. And I saw it by an American demonstrator called Angela Wilson Mayer. And if you want to look her up, her website is wildvioletsart.com, wildvioletsart.com. And I saw a card she'd done, which was absolutely beautiful. And it was really the layout, the way, the places she'd stamped, if you like, that caught my eye. And I'm going to try and kind of sketch it here to you. So she'd used sort of leafy branches, and I'm no artist, so I'm just going to kind of very roughly just kind of draw approximately what she'd done. So she got a couple coming down like that. Then she got something else over here. That was a different kind of shape with some different colours on it. I think she'd probably got other bits and pieces, maybe something here like that. And I think, although I'm not certain, that she had a bow. Okay, so there we are. So that's a very poor quality sketch, and that's about as good as my drawing gets, but that was all I needed as a starting point. Because I looked at that and I thought, well, that's great, that's Christmas wreaths. And then I thought, well, that's perhaps autumn leaves. And then I thought, well, maybe it's spring blossom. And then I was off, and I could think of so many different ways to use this. And of course, it will also work that way up. And you can put a sentiment here. And there I was. So that is the layout I'm going to be using today. I'm going to use it this way round, in which case my sentiment is obviously going to cross this way, otherwise you can't read it. I'm going to use it this way too. So that's where we're going with today's session. So let me show you my first one, which is the vertical version. And I've gone really quite muted here. And pull out all my bits and pieces. So the stamp set I decided to use for this one is Forever Fern, which is a really lovely set. The images have a huge amount of detail on them. They're very easy to use, and by changing the colours, you've got a card for the spring, you've got something for the autumn, you've got one for winter, They make thank you cards, they make men's cards, they make birthday cards. It's really, really useful. The dies that coordinate are gorgeous as well, although I'm not using those today. I'm just stamping today. And if I bring this up to the camera and hopefully can get it to focus on it, I'm hoping you can see that I've got different strengths of ink. That's probably not the right word, but I've got some which has been stamped off. I've got some which is straight from the ink pad. I've got some is very pale, some is darker. So that's what I'm going to be working with today. So I'm using this image, this one, and that one, as well as the ink spatters. And I always need thank you cards, which is why you see me make them so much. Every time somebody orders with me, they get a handmade thank you card from me. So I'm always looking for new ideas for thank you cards. But obviously you could put happy birthday in there, you could put congratulations, you could put thinking of you. There's all sorts of things you could put in there. But I'm using the thank you from Peaceful Moments, which is my go-to stamp set for words. It's got everything in here: happy birthday, congratulations, thank you, with deepest sympathy. So the ones that I would use all the time: thinking of you with all my heart, and then various other ones as well. So if you haven't got a sentiment set, I can highly recommend that one. So let's get started. I've got my card base here, which I'm not going to do anything with at all. I put the measurements in my Facebook event, but for all of these I'm just using standard measurements, which I'll write out for you just in case you need them. So my card base is 8, in this case 8 by 5 3/4, scored at 4, and this is inches. My first layer is 5.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and then I've got another layer which is 5.25 inches by 3.5 inches, and my insert is 5.5 by 3 3/4. There we go. And the layers in the insert will stay the same for all the cards. The only thing that changes is if I'm doing a card that is this way round, that is a landscape card, I actually have the fold down the side, because quite often tent-fold cards, if they've been on the mantelpiece a few days, they kind of get saggy and sad, and then they won't stand up properly. So if you put the fold on the left-hand side, it will stay standing up nicely, but I'll give you the measurement for that in a moment. So just to get the kind of the subdued, maybe slightly vintage look here, I've got a crumb cake base, I've got a crumb cake layer, and my smallest layer is also crumb cake, and that's the one I'm going to be stamping on. So let's put that down there. And first of all, I'm going to measure where the middle of this is. Now I'm using my grid paper, but you could obviously just use a ruler. But with grid paper, you've got these central markings, so it's very easy just to check across and see where the middle is. So I need to move it across just a little bit, about there. There we are. So I've just made a very faint pencil mark there, just so that I can keep my stamped leaves roughly symmetrical. So I'm going to start off with this image, and I've got Pear Pizzazz ink. You don't have to use as many colours as I've got, but I've got the colours, so I decided that I would use several. And I'm just going to stamp this coming both ways, re-inking each time, like that. Now it's not 100% symmetrical, and that's fine. In fact, it's better if it's not. I've got a bit more of this leaf off the edge than I have this one, and I just think it looks better if you do that, so that's no worries. Then I'm going to do this image, and I'm going to use soft sea foam here, and I'm going to use the second generation of that, which means I'm going to ink my stamp, stamp off, to take some of the ink off and then use the second generation of ink. And I'm kind of stamping over that and past it and down, so it's sort of in the background. I'm going to do the same again, stamp it off once and then do it the other side like that. Lift that up and hopefully you'll be able to see. And I've got quite a lot of space here, so I think I'm going to do that again just to fill in some of that empty space. And actually most of the image is off the card, but it just fills that in a little bit. Now I knew I wanted this image, which I think is eucalyptus leaves, but it also looks quite a lot like berries, in the centre. And I have crumb cake for that, so it's crumb cake ink on crumb cake card, which works really well. And there we go. I'm just going to I want to get those words in there because it's actually going to be this way when I've finished with it. I'm just wondering, I'm just going to stamp most of that off. I want a little bit more, but not too much more. There we go. Before I do any more, I'm going to put the word in, and then I'm just going to fill in the gaps with my spatter stamp. I'm actually stamping this in soft suede, which is darker. On my sample here, I used crumb cake, but I wished I'd used a darker colour. So I've got soft suede, which is one shade darker. There we go, I think that's better. This crumb cake looks quite dark, but it's still not fully dry. I mean, it's not going to smudge, but it's not completely dry. Once it is, it will be paler than that. Then I have Old Olive here, and I'm just going to fill in some gaps with this lovely ink spatter stamp. You never have too many of these. They come in useful for so many things. They cover up thumbprints or blotchy bits. Or at least they disguise them, and they also fill in gaps. So nearer my foliage, I'm going to use the ink straight from the ink pad, and then when I stamp further away, I'm going to stamp it off. So I'm going to stamp off twice and have it much fainter. And I often just play around. I'll get a few scraps of card and just play around with my images and stamping off, not stamping off. I think I need a dark one there actually. That's better. Balances that one there. And I just see what I like, see which colours I like where, which ones I like stamped off several times, and which ones I want straight from the ink pad. It's only ink and paper when it comes to it, so you can't really go wrong. So Belinda is saying, if Stampin' Up ever retired, peaceful moments shall be sunk. I feel a bit the same. Yes, I do. Oh, got lots of messages here. Let me just scroll back a bit. I don't want to miss anybody. So Gillian is here. Hi Gillian, thank you for your congratulations. Sandy's liking the simplicity of this. Yeah, it's really not at all complicated. You're just layering up stamped images. Don't worry that you're late, Maureen, that's okay. I'm going to be doing the same again if you missed the beginning of this, and of course you can watch the replay later on. So that is all my stamping done. So now I'm just going to layer everything up and add the bow. And then my card front is done. So I could have made this much more Christmassy if I had wanted. I could have used darker greens, evening evergreen maybe, or brighter greens like shaded spruce. I could have stamped something in a nice red. Either this one here, which I'm still not sure if it's leaves or berries. or the spatters. I could introduce a red bow or a gold bow, and just doing that would have made it look festive, even though it's not obviously a Christmas stamp set. So I've got my bow here. Thank you, Rosie, for the compliment about my top. Thank you very much. It's not a new one, but it doesn't need ironing, which is always a bonus. So it's one of those that I wear quite a lot. Okay, so I've tied the bow already. This is the, can I find it, the Fine Art ribbon. I hope you heard that. I just turned my head away from my camera, so the microphone may not have picked it up. Fine Art ribbon. It's a natural, I don't know if it actually is linen. Does it tell me what it's made of? No, it's not. It's polyester. It looks like linen. It's a natural colour, and it has a thin gold thread woven through it. So let me pop that on there and just bring it up for you to see. It's very pretty. It ties beautifully. The only thing about it is that it frays. Even if you cut the ends at a diagonal, you will find that it frays. So I decided that I'd work with it rather than fight it, and just fray those ends on my bow. And it must be something to do with the way it's woven. One way this frays really easily, the other one you have to kind of pull it and then snip off the little bits that you're fraying off there. I don't really know why, you just do. So I'm making this look difficult. It's not really difficult. I'm just fraying the ribbon and tidying it up, but I'll show you the other end. It's just the luck of the draw which end I started with, because I couldn't tell. And the other end I suspect will fray very easily. Right, let's try this end. Yeah, this one frays much more easily. It must be something to do with the direction of the weave or something. There we are. Get all those bits of fluff out of the way. There we go. And the very best thing for attaching bows are mini glue dots, because liquid glue often seeps through the ribbon and then it shows when you don't want that. So I usually use 2. I'm actually using 3 for this one. I don't know. That way maybe this time round. Put it the other way to the previous bow. There we go. And that's the front of my card done. I'm just going to quickly stamp an insert. And I'm not going to put any words on this. I'm just going to do a little bit more of the same in one corner. So I'm going to use the same stamps with the same colour ink. So that was Pear Pizzazz. This is Soft Sea Foam, which I'm going to stamp off once. Just a little bit of that berry stroke leaf. I don't want it to dominate where it's a darker colour. And then just a couple of spatters. So I'd love to know if any of you are crafting along with me. Just a little bit of decoration across one corner. I'll pop that inside and I'm done. I picked very vanilla card for my insert because I just think that goes really nicely with the crumb cake card base. It's just a slightly softer contrast than if I'd used basic white. that's my finished card. And if I put my sketch alongside, you can hopefully see what I mean. So Rosie's crafting along, but an entirely different project. But she says she will make some of these at a later date. That's fine, Rosie. What are you making? Sandy's crafting along, and Rosie wants to colour my top with blends. Yes, if I put a bit of my sleeve there, there is some nice white space there. It would cover very nicely. Okay, so that's card number 1. Let me clear away some of the clutter, and then we're going to do the same again but get a completely different look. I am actually going to clean these stamps because inky stamps have a habit of getting everywhere, or perhaps I should say I have a habit of leaning on inky stamps. Okay. So this time I'm going to use my layout this way round, and the only thing that will change is that the sentiment is obviously going to go horizontally. And this is my second card. Oh, Rosie's making Christmas cards. Excellent, Rosie. Yep, plenty of those to be made. Ooh, and I've just caught my little jewels by the look of it. There we are. So I'll lift this up, hoping everything will stay in focus to show you. My bow's got a little bit squashed as well, but never mind. So this I think is very pretty and delicate. I've used this stamp set, Very Versailles, which on the face of it might not seem to lend itself to this kind of layout. But I decided to see if I could make it work, and I think it does. So this time my colours are a Bumblebee card base. Then I have a soft succulent layer and a basic white layer for my stamping. And actually I'm holding it all around the wrong way, aren't I, because it needs to go that way. There we are. So let me give you the measurements. And in fact, if I draw a line under that, these are all the same as before, and this one, the card base, is 11.5 by 4 inches, scored at 5 3/4 inches. So that then gives me a landscape card that will stand up with the fold at the side. It's not going to sag and fall over after a couple of weeks. Alright, so let's do some stamping. So here's my card. Once again, I'm going to mark the centre in pencil. If I can find what I've done with my pencil. There we go. Smallest pencil in the world. Or nearly. Probably isn't the smallest, but it's not very big. And therefore I keep losing it. Okay. Now obviously you can rub this pencil mark out when you've finished. But actually on the card I just made, it was completely hidden by the bow, so I didn't even bother having to do that. So So that just gives me a starting point for my foliage and so on coming down. And I'm going to start off actually with this script stamp, which makes a wonderful background. Because it's got these kind of wiggly edges to the stamp, you can kind of jigsaw puzzle it together and make an all over pattern, or you can just use small portions of it, or just one image. It's a really useful stamp. So I've got Bumblebee ink, and I'm actually going to use the 3rd generation, which means I'm going to stamp off twice and stamp on my project on the 3rd time. So 1, 2 and 3, and I'm just going to stamp, oops, let me try and get my card straight, just a little bit. Stamp off once, twice, and then I'll stamp again. There we are. So that's given me a little bit of script in the background. The next thing I'm going to do is add my leaves. So I have soft succulent ink, which is this beautiful soft bluey green, and I'm using this image, and I'm going to use 2nd and 3rd generation ink for this. So let's stamp off once first of all. That will give me the 2nd generation. And I'm not trying to get these exactly the same on both halves. Then I'm going to re-ink it and stamp off twice. And then just stamp over the top, but have my stamp in a slightly different position. And that then gives me some variation in the tone. And I'll do the same on the other side. And I think I need a little bit more here. And the same on the other side. There we are. And then as a final detail, I'm going to use this image. I'm actually going to turn my card this way around because I think that makes it slightly easier. And I'm going to stamp off once with this, and this is Balmy Blue ink. And I'm trying to keep this image straight, because if it's, you know, crooked, it's going to notice. There's a lot going on, so I can have a little bit of a wobble in it. But generally I'm trying to keep it straight. So now I just need a word, and this very Versailles set does have a thank you in it. So that's the one I've used. It's quite an intricate, I was going to say font. Part of it is in block letters, but the word you is quite intricate. There we go. Ooh, that's not very straight. Never mind. It's a handmade card. So I will now distract the eye by adding some bling. So I've got some of the in-colour jewels here. And I've picked the small size in soft succulent. Down there, I think. There we are. And I don't know what you think. That doesn't look quite so horribly crooked to me. Now that I've got those on, they kind of distract the eye a little bit. So I'm going to layer that up. And you can probably see that if you did need multiple cards, which is something if you're making Christmas cards that you often need, this really does lend itself to that. If you had all your pieces of card for stamping pre-cut in a little pile, then you could stamp, if we're talking about this one, I know this isn't a festive one, but you would stamp all the words on all the pieces of card, and then you'd move on to those leaf sprays and stamp all the pieces of card with those, and then you'd move on to this sort of geometric band and stamp all of those, then you'd stamp all the words and so on, which would make maximum use of your time, and by the time you'd finished you'd have a whole stack of cards ready. So this is the Bumblebee Gingham ribbon, which I really like. There's something about a little bit of gingham that is very appealing to me. And I'll just pop a couple of mini glue dots on the back. With a bow, it's always easiest to push the bow onto the glue dot and then pull it off with the glue dot attached, rather than trying to pick up the glue dot and get it into the right place. There we are. So that's my card number 2. I just need to stamp an insert for it. And once again I'm going to stamp just a little bit of the same colours and patterns. Stamp off of that twice, and I'm making sure that I've got this with the words up the right way, because although you can't really read what they say, it does notice if they're upside down, and for the same reason I'm trying to keep the lines straight as well, or as straight as I can. Then a little bit of that leaf branch. So I'll do one which is 2nd generation and one which is 3rd generation. And then finally a little bit of that blue band. And put my insert into the card, and that's card number 2 finished. You can see these are really quite quick to put together. I know I haven't cut the card, I had that done already, but in terms of the stamping you can come up with quite a complicated looking design very, very quickly. So I'm going to clean those stamps, and then I have one more for you, which is a Christmas card. Drink some more tea. Okay, let's move that one, and I'll show you this. I'm just actually going to finish my tea while you look at this one, or it's going to be cold. So here we go. Here's a festive one. So for this one I've stepped it up just a little bit. Instead of just a bow, I've actually tied the ribbon all the way around, and I've put my sentiment on an extra piece of card and just raised it up on dimensionals. And if I turn the card this way, which is obviously the wrong way around, but I'm hoping you can see that it's essentially the same. If you look at these turquoise snowflakes, you've got them coming that way and that way. Then these bright blue ones come down, and then the dark blue ones come out So it's exactly the same design as this one. So I wanted to have a go with snowflakes. This is a stamp set which carried over and I really loved it, Snowflake Wishes. There is a lovely snowflake stamp set in the new, well it's not new anymore, the current July to December mini catalogue, which I haven't got because I already had snowflakes, but if you'd like some snowflakes, that one is beautiful. So I looked at these and I wanted to try to see how to make these sort of long fronds from them, fronds for want of a better word. Now this image here has got that kind of effect already, and so has that one. And so to get it with one of the other snowflake shapes, it's just a case of stamping it a couple or 3 times in a line, and I'll just show you on a scrap of card. If I can find the image, here we go. Oh, and I need my mat to stamp on here, because these are photopolymer stamps. There we are. So if you stamp that once or twice or 3 times, you get that draped effect in the same way as we got with one image stamp there, which is just this drapey leaf. So I'm hoping that makes sense to you. Let me know if it doesn't. But you can do that with probably most of the stamp sets in your collection. Have a look at them. If you've got, you know, a longish image, that will work. If you've got individual images, you can probably stamp them in a line, and then that will work for this layout as well. All right, so let's get started. So what do I have? I have a Pacific Point card base, and I've gone back to the portrait shape of card. So if you want measurements, let me just cover that one up at the bottom. There we go. So this is your card base size. My contrast layer is Night of Navy, and then I'm stamping on basic white card. I'm using probably my favourite Christmas ribbon, which is this sparkly one, and this is called Glittered Organdy Ribbon, and it's in the mini catalogue. It's absolutely gorgeous. I may have bought more of it than I can ever hope to use this Christmas, just because I didn't want to run out. And I'm hoping you can see it's got a real sparkle to it. It looks like it's double-sided, and actually it's not critical if you get it the other way around, but the right side is the side that's got the glitter actually scattered all over it. You'll see if you turn it over that it looks like the glitter's on the other side. So it's the side where you can see the glitter sitting on the top. That is the right side. And then I've just got another thin piece of card here to stamp my sentiment on. All right, so let's get ahead with this one then. So I'm going to put my stamping mat under my grid paper, and that way I can go off the edge of my stamped card without worrying too much that I'm going to get ink all over the mat and then get ink all over my project. So I just need to check where the middle is. Which is about there. So my card's going to go up this way, and I'm going to start off with Pool Party ink and that large snowflake I showed you. Actually, I'm going to move my mat over a little bit, I think. There we are. And I'm going to turn my card this way to work, just because it's easier for me to work symmetrically like that with it sideways. once again, they're not completely symmetrical. That one is lower than this one, but that's fine. I think it actually looks better if it's not completely perfectly symmetrical. Then I have, I don't know if you can see this image here, which is this one. And I'm using Pacific Point ink, which is this beautiful bright blue. Ooh, I haven't inked up the whole stamp there, that's better. And let's just look, where should we have this going? Across like that, I think. I'm not holding the stamp straight, I'm only inking up half of it if I don't watch it. There we are. And so my largest image has been in my palest colour. This is my kind of medium size of snowflake, so I've done them in the medium coloured ink. So it's not the lightest and it's not the darkest. And then I'm going to come in finally with the smallest image, which is this little group of tiny snowflakes, and I'm going to use the darkest colour for that, and that way your colours are nicely balanced. I didn't want any one of them to be dominant, and that's the best way to achieve that. So your smallest image is the darkest colour and your largest image is the lightest colour. And this is a kind of almost an S-shaped image. So I can kind of join it up like that. I think I'm also going to have one just coming in a little bit down here. Oh, and look, I've just put an inky fingerprint on that, so I'm obviously going to have to be putting a rhinestone over that. How did I get that much ink on my fingers? Goodness knows. And I'm just debating, I think I do want some more snowflakes across these corners just so they're not quite so bare. Okay. So that then is going to go up this way, and I am, I think, just going to rub out that pencil mark. There we go, because I'm not putting a bow there this time. So let me put my ribbon round, and I am going to anchor it on the back with a glue dot just to make my life a little bit easier. It's not crucial where the glue dot goes, but it will just checking I've got this up the right way. And I really should find the middle of my ribbon. There we are, that's about the middle. Okay, so that will just hold that, so I'm not fighting to stop it falling off. And having the ribbon on here first will help me work out where to position my sentiment. There we are. So I'll now bring in my sentiment strip, and I've got the words from here: Snowflake Wishes for a Merry Christmas, which I really like. We always hope for snow. I guess people that get snow all the time don't hope for it at Christmas, but I know down in the south here we do. We get it once in a blue moon. And I've got Night of Navy ink on here. just going to snip this off. I haven't got a lot of width to spare on the card front. So this is just going to sit in there. I'm just wondering if I can drop it down. I think I probably can, just to cover up that inky smudge, just for a different look. I think I am going to do that. I had planned for it to go in the middle, but then I made a horrible mess. So we'll use that as a design opportunity. As always, I'm using plenty of dimensionals because I don't want this to get squashed in the post. So if you are crafting, whether you're crafting what I'm crafting or if you're crafting something else, do pop a photo in the comments. I always love to see what you make. There we go. So that's obviously a lot lower than I'd intended, but never mind. And ooh, oh, there we are. I was looking for my rhinestones. So these are the holiday rhinestones, and they're in all those colours that you might want for Christmas. So we've got some snowflake colours, and we've got some Christmassy colours here, and I think these are aimed at being at Halloween, but you can use them for all sorts of other things as well. I do not do anything for Halloween. Okay. There we are. So I've put 2 rhinestones above my sentiment, which I feel balances out the fact that my sentiment is much lower. And now I'm just going to stick all my layers together. Piece of card doesn't look like the right size, does it? And I know why it is. It's because I had some scrap card on my desk so that I could draw that sketch for you, and I've managed to stamp on that instead of the one I'd intended, but that's okay because let's just take a slice off it. A little bit more. That's not even my right trimmer. I've packed my new style trimmer for tonight. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's going to work. You're watching me make all the mistakes today. Okay, so I need to cut a little bit off my card base just to balance that up. Tell me you do this too. It's not just me that makes mistakes like this. And then I'm going to take a little bit off my insert because I will also otherwise find that is too long. Okay, right, I think we're there. There's always a way, isn't there? It's not too often that something ends up in the bin. Sometimes it does. But usually I can salvage it. Let me just check the size of my insert. Is that going to work? Yes, that's going to be fine. Okay. So I have another stamp from the same set for the inside here. May Your Season Sparkle. So I'm going to stamp that inside and then add a couple of snowflakes and we'll be done. Just stuck my thumb in the ink pad. I'm a disaster area today. Look at the state of my hands. I don't know. Oh, that's my sample card. I'm wondering why it had an inside in it already. There we are. Okay. So it's not quite the size I'd planned, but it's fine. I've got rid of the inky smudge where I was careless. And I think that will do fine. All right, so let me bring back all 3 cards. So there we are. I used one really very simple layout here and created 3 cards with 3 different sets of stamps, 3 very different feels to them, and actually I could have gone on and on and on. So I hope that you'll give this a try. If inspiration is lacking, find a sketch and just see where it takes you. I've really enjoyed making these. I'm very pleased with them, and sometimes it's nice not to use all the bells and whistles, not to have to get out your die cutting machine, you know, or your embossing or your heat embossing. This is essentially just ink, stamps and paper. We have added a little bit of ribbon and a few gemstones, but that's all. So very, very simple cards, but I do like them. So I'm just going to turn you back up so that I can say a goodbye. Bear with me while I do that. If you've been crafting along, do pop a picture of what you've been looking at, because I would really love to see what you've done. Okay, I'm hoping we might be there. We'll see. Okay, yeah, looks like I'm there. So that's all the crafting there is for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I've had a lot of fun. Some of you I will see again tonight. I'm just looking to see if there's any final comments. Anne likes the idea of making the sketch. Good. I'm glad you do, Anne. I find it's really, really helpful. I'm sure it's something I should be revisiting time and time again. And keep your sketches. Have a notebook, have a folder or an envelope that you put them in, and then when you're lacking in inspiration you can pull out some sketches that have worked for you before and you'll be off. So yes, if you can like and share, I'm ever so grateful, and I will be back next week with a one-sheet wonder for making Christmas cards or any other cards. You won't have to necessarily use the same stamps and colours as me. So watch out early next week for a Facebook event, and I'll list out what I'm going to be using. So if you want to craft along with me, you can. And I hope you have a really lovely weekend, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.